Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And welcome to the Jerick Show, the only show you need to get your weekly fix of cybersecurity news, views, and opinions.
Welcome to The Jerick Show, featuring your hosts, Javvad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
Now, you might have thought I misspoke there, but if you are a regular viewer, listener of this show, and you would like to see a daily segment, just a quick roundup of everything, then do let us know. Please send all emails to erick@knowbefore.com. So how you doing?
Don't even try to sign us up for that, man. It's tough enough trying to do this once a week. I'm not going to lie, man. So
It's not tough. I mean, you just have to read some stories, research them, cross-reference them, and then present them in a way that it appears to be unscripted and unplanned and amateurish.
When did we start doing all of that? I mean, the last part, I get it. Yeah. But the whole researching and stuff. No, it's so I'm in Boston. I'm in Boston right now. I got my car keys over here in case I need to take my car somewhere. Kind of loving it out here. Weather's cool. Just was at a conference yesterday. And you know what? I got to present for the first time ever on an IMAX screen. I sent you a picture of that, man.
Yes, you did. You did.
Huge. It was like, it was a little intimidating. I'm looking up like, holy crap, this thing's like tremendous. I don't think my slides were that big. And I realized that my profile picture of me, the one that's like the about us on the front slide sort of thing, I think you could see my nose hair in that picture blown up that big. Maybe I need to get in and Photoshop that or something, man. But I never expected like a screen that tall. It was kind of cool, man. So
wow. So what's next? So I think next step is like the Sphere in Vegas.
Right.
You can present there.
Right. I'm telling you, man, it's pretty cool. Now, next week, I'm in Austin, Texas. Gonna go down there, do a little yeehaw for Spiceworks. You remember Spiceworks?
Oh yeah, Spiceworks. I've been to a few of their Spice Worlds.
Yeah.
Fun community.
So I'm not even sure how I got brought into Spice World since I'm not really active on there much anymore. I used to be super active on there, but I'm actually going to get to be on a panel at Spice World. So I'm looking forward to that.
Brilliant. I used to be really active when I was in my old Alien Vault days, actually.
Yeah.
So because Alien Vault was also based in Austin, and so Spice World and everything. So I've been to Austin a few times, and everyone kept telling me Austin is not representative of the rest of Texas, just like Vegas is not representative of the rest of the states. And then you leave. Also, when we went to Dallas, and it was like, yeah, no, this is not like Austin at all.
Yeah. You remember Dallas, man, on the little bikes, the little scooters. Yeah, so much fun in Dallas, man. But the one thing I gotta say, man, Austin has Torchy's tacos. Like, they do not mess around with tacos there. They're phenomenal. I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent. So, have you been to Ohio recently?
I was not too long ago. I was in Ohio, Cleveland, actually. So, yeah.
So because our first story takes us to Columbus, Ohio, where 500,000 people impacted by a ransomware attack. So go for it.
Well, it's not unusual for these cities, states, and municipalities to get hit by ransomware, right? It happens all the time. The thing on this one that's interesting, though, is if I'm not mistaken, there was a researcher that kind of dropped a dime on this a while back, and they kind of went after that person for leaking the information out there. And I'm like, wait, this is like a public thing, right? This is a public thing that got hit, put people's information at risk, and then because they kind of like talked about it, they went after them. And I think this happened, what was it, July or something like that?
Yeah, it says July. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So July. And this is where I do have a problem. And we've mentioned this before. When things like this happen, so that happened in July. We're now in November. And they're going, yep, it happened because the information is already out on the dark web. Well, what about all these people that were impacted that have been fat, dumb, and happy their information is already on the dark web. It's already probably being exploited in one way or another. And yet nobody's bothered to tell them until now, November. Like, that's the stuff that kind of frustrates me when it comes down to stuff like this. So, I don't know.
It is. And the problem is that the big challenge is that there's no linkage. If like, say now someone's credit card gets used or they get identity fraud and someone takes out a loan in their name, there's no way of linking it back to this, and therefore there's no incentive for the breached party, the organization, to speed things up in that regard, because no one can ever turn around and say, because the details were here and we've sold over there and used over here. And that's annoying. So maybe there needs to be some sort of wrapper, a bit like a watermark. So criminals, if you're thinking, this will really help us, and you can still have all your money, but put a watermark where you got the data from. So if you stole it from, XYZ bank, put a watermark on, like, here's all these John Doe's details from XYZ bank. So, criminals, you can still do your criminal activity, but once we do find it on the dark web and once we do track it down, then we can, double dip on that.
Yeah. Well, there is attribution sometimes where they're like, okay, we saw this list being dumped by this operator for these things. The problem is, as we have more and more breaches, it all ends up getting muddied together eventually anyway. And I will say, on behalf of organizations that are dealing with this, it does sometimes take a little while to figure out how bad was it, how much information was taken, et cetera, et cetera. But I fear that a lot of this stuff gets tied up in the legal crap, like the lawyers reviewing this and what can you say and what should you say, and PR firms getting involved and all that kind of stuff. Maybe not necessarily on the city level, although I'll bet there is some of that. But, sometimes we don't see it until there's like an SEC filing.
Yeah.
And that's where some of these rules and laws are meant to take place. And I think there's a flip side to that where they're like, you must report within 48 hours that there's a breach. Well, what the hell are you going to report at that point? Something happened. Something may have happened. Some things may have been lost, but they may not have been lost too. So there's that kind of, there's that gray area where we got to figure out where it's reasonable to be able to actually do that.
Well said. So there's a bogus copyright infringement email scam going around. So it's I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Info stealer, malware. It's basically you get sent an email masquerading as something from Facebook pages or what have you, saying that you've got, there's a copyright violation. Here's a letter from some lawyers. Click here, and it's a password protected zip archive. And there's a decoy PDF. There's some DLLs with the info stealer in it. And then if you run it, then it basically does. So it's nothing high tech. And the reason I want to speak about this is that we often talk nowadays about AI. We talk about how attacks are getting more sophisticated and everything, but you don't need to be super sophisticated to trick people. It just needs to be the right hook at the right time. So if you're an influencer or a small business owner and you're doing all of your business on Facebook Marketplace, say like you're upcycling furniture, you buy them for like $10, paint them, polish them, put new handles on, and sell them for $200, and that's your livelihood. And all of a sudden, Facebook is saying like you've got a copyright. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to tank me. So you panic, you go through it. So this is where I think it's just important to just remind people that these things are out there, these things happen, and share the knowledge.
Well, there's a lot of legitimate concerns about that out there too. Like Etsy, I know, is really bad about just shutting down somebody's shop with no notice, no notification, because somebody else complains that, oh, that's my design. But the other side gets no way to dispute that. And so there's a lot of sensitivity around that, like you said, in those kinds of areas too, because man, I've seen it happen more than once. And, I used to make some laser stuff and sell it. And when I'm in those groups, like I hear over and over again how they get shut down for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, the copyright infringement stuff, it's one of those things that if you get a notification like that, it's probably going to make you twitch a little bit. And ironically, I was talking to my daughter about some things with this earlier, and I was mentioning, do you remember Metallica? Like when we first started going to like digital audio, Metallica was suing the
Yes.
hell out of everybody for
Yeah.
downloading stuff,
With Napster and
going
everything.
after individuals
Yeah.
too, and like it was just like it was insane. And then they had the movie, what was it, The Hurt Locker, that went after a whole bunch of individuals and stuff like that. I mean, this is some scary stuff if you've been around and seen what these attacks can do. So I get where it could get somebody concerned. And
Yes.
so the password protection part, I mean, you know the reason behind that. It's so that email scanners can't get in and scan the contents of the compressed file. So that's the whole point behind that. And again, these are old tactics, kind of broad and new, but you're right, the stuff is still very effective.
Yeah. And speaking of that, do you actually remember? I'm going on a segue here, but speaking of Napster, do you remember like the founder of Napster, because Metallica was so heavy-handed? He went to one award ceremony and he was actually wearing a Metallica shirt, and then he said something like, "I didn't buy this" or something. It was just like one, or "I bought this secondhand." It was just like one of those sort of moments.
I don't remember that, but man, for those of you that don't know, yeah, that was like a huge battle when we started first going to digital media. Like it was brutal back then. All us old timers remember we used to go to the record store uphill both ways in the snow barefoot.
Yeah, just look up Napster versus Metallica, and that in your search engine of choice, and it'll be there. So, Synology urges patch for critical zero-click RCE flaw affecting millions of NAS devices.
Millions. Yeah, what was interesting about this, first of all, I wanted to put it out there for my Synology brothers and sisters out there. These NAS devices, man, they are always going after these things, right? The QNAPs seem to be even worse, honestly. QNAPs seem to get hammered all the time with security vulnerabilities, which is why I actually run a Synology. But in this case here, like this was something that it was released. I think weren't you at this conference? Wasn't this in Ireland that they did this?
No, this is Born to Own. I was at IrisCon.
Oh, okay. Born to Own Ireland. Things. Okay. All right. Different place.
Yeah.
But same Ireland. But anyways, this came out and it was immediately being exploited. Like immediately being exploited. And it's just a lesson in how quickly this stuff can do. Now, I used to be of the mind that like I didn't want to automatically apply patches to things because I'm ancient and I've had so many problems with patches in the past, right? Remember they used to break everything?
Yeah.
But if I'm honest with myself with things like this, I haven't actually had this break anything in a very long time.
Yeah. And actually when you look at the likelihood of something breaking these days versus the impact of having something unpatched and exploited, I think the trade-off becomes a lot easier to make.
Yeah, so I implore people now to allow the automatic patches. Now, then there's the flip side. Did you see that story about the Windows patch? It was like for 2002 servers, and I forget exactly how it worked, but it was like a mess up in the CVE, and guys were coming in the morning and finding out they're now running Windows 2005 server or 2025 server instead of 2022. Like it upgraded, it was an upgrade of the entire OS accidentally instead of just as cert. And I'm thinking, man, can you imagine? Like talk about having no testing going on.
Yeah.
And then what happens with your apps going? And then I started thinking about, well, is Microsoft going to beat you up over licensing now because you have a bunch of unlicensed servers out because this patch got pushed out? Like, is this where they start knocking on your door again going, hi, we're with the business, what was it, the BSA, wasn't it? The Business Software Alliance?
Yeah.
We want to help you audit your software. And that's where you slam the door in their face and say, go away. But, I saw that story, and I should have included it here, but I saw that story, man, and that was mind-blowing.
Yeah, Microsoft not had a good time with patches lately or updates.
Yeah, those ones I'd still probably hold out for a little bit.
Yeah.
If it's internet connected, though, folks, like these Synologies are a lot of times. I think this was with the photo app or one or more of the photo type
Yeah,
apps.
Disk Station and B Photos.
Yeah, yeah. So you definitely want to be extra cautious with things that are internet facing.
Indeed.
Indeed.
I love this story. Schneider Electric was hit by a ransomware group. 40 gigs of data was stolen and demanded the French multinational energy management company pay $125,000 in baguettes. I just don't know. It's like,
I said, I, yeah, I, part of me, I just don't even know. Like, was this a joke on their behalf where they're just like, screw it, we're going to sell it anyways? What would you do with $125,000 in baguettes? And are you talking about at wholesale prices or retail
ooh,
prices at that? But like,
ooh.
because there would be a whole lot more baguettes in wholesale pricing than retail.
Yeah,
And how the hell are you going to move those around? Like you leave them in the duffel bag over at the park, and like, come on, man.
exactly.
This is hilarious,
It
though.
is. It is. I just think
love
it's just so funny. It's almost like the ransomware gang lost a bet to another ransomware gang and said, you can't ask for crypto or cash, but you have to ask the most ridiculous thing ever. And it's like, okay, baguettes.
it. Yeah, I mean, how would you even start negotiating something like this?
I have no idea. And then what's the
Mega
mega
baguette.
baguettes? And then there's giga baguettes. Yes, okay. Wow.
Brilliant. Yeah. I just you hire one of these ransomware negotiation services, and they're like, wait, they're asking for what?
Yeah.
What about croissants? Can we take it? Can we throw a few croissants in there too?
What about those macarons? Like,
Yeah,
let's
I
have
don't
those.
want to laugh at these guys, but oh dear Lord.
Yeah. The miscreants promised to delete the data as long as the French firm hands over the dough.
Oh. This
Oh,
was on the red. Yeah, this was the reg.
yeah,
Okay,
it
all
is
right.
the rage, of course. What do you
Oh, I
expect?
love the reg. Oh man.
But
Okay.
what was interesting is their comment. They're investigating the unauthorized access, which is hosted in an isolated environment.
It ain't that
Well,
isolated, pal. I
I
got
don't
news
think
for
that
you.
word means what you think it means.
By isolated, we mean there is a firewall to the internet somewhere around it.
Yeah,
Other than that, it's open to the entire internal network.
yeah.
Settle for one French bread loaf
Dinner
and a
roll.
dinner roll. Man, I don't know. I heard that French bread is pretty good over there. I never had a chance to be over there, so it may be worth quite a bit.
You've not been to France?
I have not.
Ooh la la. Well, when you're next over here, we can hop on the Eurostar.
Okay, let's go this way. I'm German. My family is German. We've been to France. We didn't like it. No, I don't. I've had some good friends that were French, and they had a good sense of humor. But I don't know. As an American, what I hear is that they don't love us in France. So I'd have to adopt another accent.
No one really likes you, Eric. That's the thing.
Oh, that's a good point. That may be a universal truth.
Hi, James.
In Copenhagen.
Okay, so finally, from stories of IoTs and what have you, this is like the IoT fish tank in Vegas that was used to whatever. Anyway, Chinese air fryers may be spying on consumers. Which ? Warns. So which is a brand. It's a publication. Which question mark is the name. So
well, thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, that's a crappy headline, but
yeah, I know it doesn't work well. So which question mark claimed that smart air fryer from Zomi, Kosori, and AgoStar all wanted to know customers' precise locations as well as permissions to record audio on the user's phone. How is this different from nearly every other app that you download these days?
yeah. And
You know,
this thing's sitting on your counter next to your Alexa.
yeah,
It's totally not recording everything we say.
exactly. And you know what? I know what the issue here is. It's a Chinese product. That's what it
Yeah.
is. You know, oh, Tencent, they're evil. They like, sell data to the Chinese government. They're all like TikTok and everything. And I'm not downplaying the impact, but I'm just saying that
True.
it seems to be a slight double standard, because further down you read here, products from non-Chinese vendors, including Samsung, LG, Amazon, and Google, were also criticized in the report. Well, why not lead with that? Well, because that doesn't make such quite a sexy title.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think we've all just kind of assumed that all of like TVs and stuff and whatever spy on us, but air fryers are kind of a new one. And it makes me think of there's like a meme or a joke that's been floating around Facebook for forever. And it's like the guy's wife asks him, "Why do you carry a gun in the house?" or whatever. And he replies, "Decepticons." And then it goes off to say, I laughed, she laughed, the toaster laughed, I shot the toaster, right? That one there. It kind of ties back into that one pretty directly at this point.
Yes.
But this is the world we're in, where all of these smart devices are listening. And part of that has to happen in some ways. If we're going to have Alexa in the room and we're going to say, "Alexa, turn on the lights," well, Alexa's got to be listening for that keyword.
Yep.
It's just part of what it's doing, right? Like I remember yours used to be a "Computer, turn off the lights." And when I would say that loudly enough, when it was "Computer," which I don't know if it is, and you had speakers on, I can actually screw with you in the background. And I miss those days, Javad. So if you could go ahead and change that back to a keyword that I know, we'd have a lot more fun on the show.
No. It's like, what I can do is I've changed it so that I can do like, "Alexa, remove the annoying voice." Oh, it works. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you again next week, unless you all vote unanimously to do a daily, in which case Eric will be happy to do that. So stay